Labyrinth joining the roster of Thorpe Park attractions this year, I thought I'd go ahead and take an in-depth look at potentially what we could be seeing within this attraction. Obviously, I haven't really spoken too much about Black Mirror Labyrinth on this channel too frequently, so I thought I'd do one in today's video, just kind of do something a little bit different. Obviously, definitely leave any video suggestions you guys have down in the comments because it really does mean a lot to me. I'm kind of running low on video ideas, so it would be much appreciated. And obviously, if you guys do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, anything that makes me know you guys like my content. And obviously, yeah, thank you so much everyone again who's supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot. Now, for those of you that have been on the channel recently, you'll know I've been trying to organise my videos a little bit better. So once again, this video will be split up into 3 different sections. The first section, we're going to be talking about the special effects side of things. What special effects and illusions could we potentially be seeing within this attraction, as well as whether or not there could be actors. Moving on into the second section, I'm going to be talking about a potential storyline that I've come up with, and I've noticed a couple of different things within the reveal that could lead to some things, so I'll be discussing that a little bit. And then moving into the third section and the final section of the video, we'll be discussing what Black Mirror Labyrinth could potentially do for the future of Thorpe Park. What doors could it open? Where could it lead us? So, with all that out of the way, let's get right into the first section then. So obviously when we first got the initial release or announcement of Black Mirror Labyrinth, we obviously got a ton of information about what kind of tone Thorpe Park are going for here and how they're going to approach it. Obviously, first of all, we knew that there would be a lot of technological stuff going on in the attraction, and obviously a lot of that were detailed in the actual description itself. Obviously, you know, it really talks about heavily relying on technology. There are many different kind of, you know, effects they could potentially add in here. Some of the ones I come up with are obviously, first of all, strobe lights. I 100% can see that obviously being featured in there somewhere. Obviously, as well as that, you could have screen projections or projection mapping, which will obviously, if you don't know what they are, they project certain images onto walls and 3D objects to make them look like they're kind of real. You can also kind of use different screens, I guess, throughout the attraction as well. And I do think that if Thorpe Park are really heavily relying on this technology side of things, they really do need to keep and look after this attraction really well. Obviously, we know Thorpe Park do keep well with their attractions generally, but you know, it's one of them ones that without the technology within it, it probably isn't going to be as good. And the similar situation to the Ghost Train. The Ghost Train, obviously, without the technology in that, isn't as good, and it will probably be the same situation here. Now, in terms of actors, I know it's been kind of a thing that's been frequently kind of talked about. I generally do not think there will be any actors within this experience, especially with the kind of technological advancements they're really going for here. There wouldn't really be a need for any actors in here. With it being a labyrinth, it's not really like a scare maze. So, you know, it would kind of work better if it was just you in there on your own trying to figure it out yourself. I feel like that would be a little bit more of a better experience than just having it actor-led. And obviously it would cost a lot of money to also obviously run actors as well as the technology. So I think here they would have either gone for one or the other, and I do think they have gone for the technology side. Obviously, with an attraction like this, I can 100% see there being a pre-show. Obviously, formerly, Living Nightmare was in this building, and obviously you had the Negan space where you kind of, you know, had the little pre-show in there. So I could definitely see that room being used somehow for a potential pre-show. I think it would kind of set up the story a little bit, because I can definitely see this being very story-driven. Obviously, I will get into the details for that in just a second. But yeah, honestly, it just seems like it would be an attraction that would perfectly fit having a pre-show. Obviously, I do hope they do something with that tunnel outside of the pre-show that obviously was existing there within Living Nightmare. They could potentially theme that up, or even that could be part of the pre-show there. We don't exactly know what extensions or what they're actually doing to the exterior of the building. I can't imagine there to be too much change, obviously, because there's been no planning permission's been sent out. So yeah, generally I just think you'll have a little pre-show where the Living Nightmare one was, and then obviously you'll continue on the journey a little bit further. I don't think it'll be anything on the scale of, you know, the Walking Dead ride or Dan Brown's Ghost Train, but I do think there will be something in there to set up the story. Okay then, so moving on to something or into the next section, so I say that I've actually been very excited to share with you guys. This has only really been happening in the last couple of days. I was just sitting looking at the image for obviously the Black Mirror Labyrinth promotion, and I noticed something very interesting. Now, for those of you that have seen Black Mirror will know that there is a certain episode called White Bear. Within that episode there is obviously the White Bear symbol, which frequently appeared throughout the seasons as well as like a little Easter egg. However, I did actually notice that these same symbols are actually featured within the promotional material. Now, I did figure this particular bit out quite a while ago, but I'd never actually put two and two together until very recently. Potentially, could the story of Black Mirror Labyrinth be tied in with one of the episodes? Now, I know quite a bit on the channel I have frequently outspokenly said that I do not think this will be, you know, themed to a certain episode. Obviously, over the last couple of years with the IPs we have seen at the Thorpe Park Resort, they've been very focused on showing you scenes from the show. I definitely still stand by that point. I don't think there will be any of that within here. However, I do potentially now maybe see a link between some of the episodes, which could lead to something very cool. Now, for those of you that don't actually know what the White Bear episode is about, pretty much it is a futuristic kind of justice system where pretty much someone who's done something very bad is put through this kind of torture every day, living through this very like kind of dangerous scenario, and then it's kind of relived every day for pretty much rest of her life. So this obviously is a very cool concept, and the more I think about it, the more I can see how this would tie in with Black Mirror Labyrinth. Now, we know that within the description of the actual attraction itself, it is inviting us to playtest the labyrinth. Now, I have discussed that there is another episode called Playtest in particular that could also have a link to this, but now I've seen the White Bear symbols and they're very heavily featured within there. I do generally believe that we will have some kind of connection through that. Now, there are many different ways that they can actually connect this. Obviously, the easiest way being that this is another project within the White Bear system that is obviously being implemented for a justice thing, and obviously that could fit in with you being a prisoner or someone who's done something very wrong, and that would then obviously help the re-rideability or the run-through ability of it, because every single time you go through it, you'll be in that mindset that you've pretty much just been brainwashed and you're going through this labyrinth constantly, which, to be fair, is a very cool plot line, and as soon as I thought about this morning, I was very excited because I thought I'd finally cracked something, and yeah, I think something like this could work so well, and having it kind of being a sequel to an episode is even better in my opinion, because you feel more like you're a part of the show, and I think that's something that most of the IPs at the park haven't really done before. Like I said, you're just walking through shows or scenes from the shows that you've already watched, and it's kind of a bit, you know, boring, but when obviously you're living something that could potentially be within the universe, that is something even better. So in regards to obviously the Netflix IP type thing that's actually been floating around since this has been announced, I'm not entirely sure that Netflix is going to be heavily featured within Thorpe Park. Obviously, yes, Netflix do own Black Mirror. However, you've got to realise that quite a few of the IPs that have you know been through Netflix have been also featured in other parks very heavily. Obviously, we know Netflix have actually been involved with Universal with their Halloween Horror Nights, obviously with their Stranger Things mazes. So whether or not Netflix are going to be willing to give maze IPs like that to Thorpe Park instead of bigger, more grander parks like Universal is something that obviously is very unclear at the moment. Whether or not this happens, and it would be very cool. Like, I'm 100% on board for there being a Netflix takeover at Thorpe Park. Just saying those words is extremely exciting to me, but I'm not entirely sure that it will happen. Obviously, there is still a very high chance that it could happen. Obviously, like I said, Netflix do own Black Mirror, so there would have had to be a deal going through them, obviously, to feature that within the park. So potentially we could see some smaller IPs potentially come to Thorpe Park, and well-known ones as well potentially. But I wouldn't get our hopes up just in case something like that doesn't happen. Because like I said, I know that Netflix most likely would want to go for bigger, grander parks, because at the end of the day, it's going to make them a lot more money. Okay, so there we go. That is pretty much all I had to share with you guys. I know that I've really been kind of holding back a lot of the Black Mirror stuff recently. I haven't really been talking about it, but at the end of the day, I've got other things that I wanted to do, and I thought, oh, I might as well just seize the opportunity to, make the video now and just share some of my thoughts. Obviously, we have seen a lot about kind of this potentially not opening this year if the parks do eventually reopen. We know that Alton Towers have delayed their opening of Gangster Granny until next year. However, there has been no statement from Thorpe Park so far about Black Mirror Labyrinth, and what you guys have got to remember is that Gangster Granny in the world of David Williams is something that Alton Towers have been working on for years, and obviously they're not going to want to just half-assed and just release the area just willy-nilly and not really have a big ceremony for it. They want to obviously launch it properly, so in regards to that, obviously I can see why they've delayed it, but in terms of Black Mirror, I don't really see the need for them to do it. Obviously they've only really been working on it for probably a year tops. And also with that, there's no real breaking of social distancing. Obviously, it is a batched attraction, so you will be going in through groups, but they will be obviously extremely smaller due to obviously limited capacity, which is going to be one of the guidelines that is being followed if the parks do reopen. So at the moment, as it stands, I do think Black Mirror will still open, but like I said, it could potentially change very quickly. I just think that if it was to happen and it was to be delayed, they would have made a statement similar to Alton Towers, very, very close to theirs. But yeah, it's very, very hard to tell at the moment. But if you guys did go on to enjoy the video, like I said at the beginning, make sure to like and subscribe. I post weekly videos all about theme parks, so if that is something that interests you and you did enjoy the video, definitely feel free. So with all that said, I will see you guys later.